Well, it's the day after Thanksgiving, and I'm sure everybody's in a tryptophan coma at this point. So, if you're anything like me, you're looking for something to watch on a Friday afternoon, and I thought it would be a great time to take another deep dive into the uh, the history books of Star Wars collecting. We're going back to like 95 through 97, and we're revisiting The Power of the Force 2. Everybody's favorite. I know, I know. This is definitely one of those lines where I think it's an acquired taste. It's the escargot of Star Wars collecting, right? So, the figures were stylized, they were beefy, they had sort of extreme poses, they had oversized weapons, made up weapons, all kinds of things. But here we are 30 something years later, and there's kind of a love for them now. They're their own thing. They're not the Black Series, they're not the TVC. And that's exactly why I like them. So here we have Princess Leia in her BOUSHH disguise. We all know it as the Jabba the Hutt scene where she brings Chewie in as the prisoner. They try to rescue and negotiate for Han Solo, etc. And it's a great figure. I have two loose examples here. One is fully loaded out, and the other one is broken down with her accessories and things. And you can see that the cape, the helmet, and the rifle are removable. Now, we're going to take a quick look at the rifle because you'll notice that there is no handle on it. There's no handle on it. And if you flip it around, there's a very distinct point, a very sort of conical point at the end of it. And when we look at the cards, you're going to notice that there was obviously a running change made from the prototype featured on the back of one of the cards to what became the figure that we have in front of us. So again, this is a very neutral pose for the Power of the Force 2. Pretty neutral. I mean, the cape is flowing a little bit, and but she's relatively neutral. She's got the thermal detonator in her hand at all times. That's molded in. Power of the Force 2 was not known for their subtleties. They had some rather very large types of things, accessories and whatnot, and a lot of times they molded things into figures' hands, like the thermal detonator, and I actually am a big fan of it. I have another version, another 4-inch version of this figure. The thermal detonator was its own accessory, and I lost it immediately. It's so small, it's ridiculous. So again, this is kind of what you would use this figure for. Chances are she's going to be at Jabba's palace, threaten to blow him up. And so why not, right? So now let's take a quick look. We're going to take a little deeper dive into the carded versions. Now, there are no figure variations of this. This is the figure is pretty much the same. There's really no paint variations. There's no accessory variations. What you see is what you get. There are slight age variations. Sometimes you might get a slightly yellower one over time. Time sometimes is bites into these things and makes their own slightly different shades, but there are no known cataloged variations of the figure. However, there are definitely variations to the cards. So let's take a look at those. So I'm going to clear this off for a second. All right, and we're going to just get rid of my little spinny thing here. And we're going to start. So if you recall, we first started out with the Power of the Force 2 Jedi Luke. And Jedi Luke was cool. I had several versions of him, and you might recall that there were serial numbers on the cards, starting with .00 and 00, and then when they made a running change to the card, there was 01 and then 02. That was how it went. The serial numbers went up. They corresponded 0.00, 0.01, 0.02. Here we have the Shadows of the Empire is actually the 00 card. So we've got the purple lightsaber that everybody associates with Mace Windu. But the first time we see it is actually in Shadows of the Empire on this card back. And I really love the call out for Shadows of the Empire. It's a very unique looking card. It's got a hologram, but it's smaller than the other hologram card. So this one here is maybe about, 20% smaller or so, 25% smaller than the other holograph card. So that's one variation, but you'll notice on the back, this is before the internet really hit, so we don't have any internet.com information. There's actually a call out once again for the dial-orama, dial and join, which is really cool. Take your old landline phone and first of all, you got to uncoil the cord, right? You got to uncoil it, then you got to walk from the kitchen into your bedroom 35 feet with that incredibly long phone cable. I'm dating myself. All right, so anyways, but here's the filing card. You'll notice that the writing is in purple. It's the same Return of the Jedi call out information, but there's some slight changes to it. And then down here, you're going to notice there's the Leia on the card. But if you can see, the weapon is a different weapon. This is a prototype. There's no grip on it, and there's just a flat snub nose barrel at the end. So that's much different than what we see in the finished product, which again we have here, and you can see clearly that there's no grip on it, and there's a pointed cone at the end of it. So just a slight running change, but interesting. It's got the classic Kenner logo, which I absolutely love. It's got the Shadows of the Empire callouts and some other figures. Now we're going to take a look at the 01, right? Should be a 01. No, there is not. So both of these versions, both the hologram and the movie still, they're different cards for sure. This one has the hologram, this one has the movie still. But if you turn them around, you'll notice neither specify 01. There's a 02 there, and there's a 02 there. So both of these are the 02 card. However, there is now some information such as, if you look here, you're going to see there's a Hasbro.com, join the Star Wars fan club with some internet information. So we have now actually, we've taken our rotary phone with the long cable and we are now dialing, we're putting the phone on the modem and we're dialing in that way. And now we are now in the space age, the internet age. And so that's kind of a fun change. The cards are both identical, but again, one of the interesting things about it is there are slight variations to the card. You can see here clearly that the internet version, we're calling that has red text. This one here has purple text, and also the cards themselves are slightly different. So hopefully you can see those differences. And then also the call out information on the cards are very different. And then finally, we get to the last of my carded examples. And when I was overseas, I collected some figures with the Tri logo. People might be familiar with what's called the Tri logo. And the Tri logo and the European cards and the international cards are in fact Star Wars. Then it says Guerre des Galaxies and then Guerre des Étoiles. And so this is the Tri logo card for the Power of the Force 2. It's got a smaller picture on it than the other movie still version. So here are the two movie still versions. This one is much larger. This one is multilingual, which I always think is kind of cool. And it explains what it has, what it comes with. And it also says Leia in very large text. And then finally, you can see that this is the third style of card back. So this has the multilingual. It's got the ages 4 and up for boys and girls. It's got different figures on it. Here's another example of Leia, and you can see the distinct differences between the gun and the prototype gun that was released. And if you're interested, the next figure we're going to do a deep dive on is one of these on these card backs. So hopefully that will entice you. But these are fun. You know, Power of the Force 2, we're living in an age now where everything is hyper articulated with photoreal faces. We've got all these different things that were sort of, it's an embarrassment of riches. But Star Wars stands on the shoulders of just great old 4-inch, 3 3/4 inch, 4-inch figures. And we had the vintage collection, we had the Kenner collection, we had all different sorts and variations and incarnations of these figures. The Power of the Force 2 is kind of special. And, you know, I hope you enjoy these deep dives into them. Maybe it might inspire you to take a look at those thrift stores, or maybe start your own collection. I don't collect all of them, but I do like to have an entire run of all of the particular figures that I really liked. So again, yes, I'm the guy who has 6 Power of the Force 2 BOUSHH Leias, but each kind of has their own charm. Thanks as always for looking. We'll do another deep dive soon. Happy Thanksgiving, and enjoy the weekend.